Hi everyone, and a very well welcome to session focused on transferable skills. I'm absolutely delighted to connect with you all online across Ireland and just being there at my home and being able to speak to you about the very important concept of transferable skills. My name is Karina Septor, and I am a careers advisor at National College of Ireland, and I do advise students on career planning prospects. And one of the things we focus in particular are transferable skills. So you perhaps heard a lot and probably seen in many employer job descriptions and requirements the need of transferable skills. So what we're going to talk about today is we will look at the definition of transferable skills, and we will also look at the practical application of transferable skills. Just before we start, I also would like to give a little bit more of a background information in terms of why it's important to be aware of the concept of transferable skills. So from that perspective, it's important to see how the concept of professionalism and careers has changed over time. Back in the days, what you will find is that people were preparing for specific careers, essentially that was called vocational careers. So let's say you had attended the school, then you did your degree and you essentially become a teacher. But with the changing world that we live in, where new technologies emerge and new and different environments that come in, they all impact the idea of careers. And even right now, at the time of pandemic, we did notice the importance of IT skills and being able to navigate computer systems in order to complete your work from home. So with all these complex changes over time, people have started to switch careers. And an interesting fact is that people do change their careers from 5 to 7 times in their professional life. This can be drastic changes between the careers, or people may just simply swap their industries or employers. But the changing world really emphasizes the idea of people being able to switch from one career to another. And this is where the concept of transferable skills becomes really, really important. And we will cover that in the next few slides. So now let's have a look at what transferable skills are. And I think read.co.uk describes that really well. So essentially what they're talking about is transferable skills are those soft set of skills and abilities that you pick up through your professional life and that it can be applied in any profession that you go to. So let's have a look in a bit more details. When we do talk about transferable skills, and when I work with many of my clients, we do use that terminology quite a lot. However, what I do find is that they may not necessarily understand what the transferable skills are. So with this infographic, I wanted to show you and explain that transferable skills are essentially soft skills. They are very much different from industry-related skills. And just to demonstrate as an example, let's take a role of accounting. Accountants do require industry-specific skill, and therefore they go and complete ACA examinations and qualification. The same applies to human resource people. They do require to complete a CIPD qualification, so then, for example, they can talk about employment law or how to deal with unions. Unlike industry skills, transferable skills can be learned by yourself through education, work experience, or through extracurricular activities you undertake. And those soft skills can be taken with you to another job. So based on the soft skills that are presented on infographic, let's have a look, for example, at leadership. So let's say in your degree, you had a chance to lead on various group assignments, and therefore you've learned how to manage and lead your team. And for example, when you're applying for a graduate application or an entry-level position, you would be able to use that as an example to demonstrate that you have leadership skills. And I will talk a little bit more about transferable skills acquired in education. In terms of importance of transferable skills, as I've emphasized, the changing world that we live in, it's really important component for any career changer, for example. So if you're in a position to change your career, you simply need to reflect on all those skills and abilities that you have acquired in your previous roles. And whenever you're making an application or when you're talking to an employer, you can use those examples from your previous work experience. Because when you look at the job description, many of them will actually feature the requirement for transferable skills. And instead of emphasizing industry-related skills, you will talk about transferable skills. This is also an important concept for anyone who feels like they lack experience or perhaps have no experience at all. This would mainly apply to fresh graduates who, for example, haven't had a chance to undertake work placement and education is the only practical experience they have. Again, I will talk a little bit more in details how that can be expressed in your application or in interview context. And on the other hand, it's really important for your applications. Whenever employers say we would like to have excellent administrative skills or written communication skills, rather than just making a generic statement saying that you have these skills, it's really important for you to demonstrate that practical example. Practical examples are extremely important, so you can use your education, work experience, and extracurricular activities to emphasize that. Just go on the next slide. So in terms of the various career options, I just taken 3 examples just to demonstrate, and perhaps I will talk a little bit more about project management as a role. So as you can see from the slide, the kind of soft skills, and it's just a sample of skills required. I'm sure there's much more skills required for project management. So the kind of soft skills or transferable skills that are required for this role is time management, organizational and analytical and research skills. So again, let's refer back to your experience in college or university. So you have been completing various assignments and you had multiple deadlines. And if you've done that successfully, that can be used as an example to say that you have excellent time management skills. The same applies for organizing those different assignments within specific time frame. And at the same time, all the assignments that you have in the college, they do require a certain level of analytical and research skills, because if you are given a case study, you need to research it first, analyze it through, and then put your own thinking forward. So therefore, these are just excellent examples of how you can say that you have the transferable skills, you've acquired them through education, and now they can be transferred towards project management graduate application form. So next slide. So in terms of where we learn those transferable skills, I've been talking about degree throughout this presentation, and in the other slide, I just want to showcase that there is a wide range of skills that you've learned in education. On the other hand, let's not forget about work experience or part-time job. I do know that many students, for example, work part-time, and at the same time, they feel like they're not supposed to put that in their application because it's not really relevant. So in this case, we need to forget the word relevant, and what we really need to focus on is the skills. So again, if you've been engaging with customers, if you've been talking with the team, essentially you have those transferable skills. However, the examples are from a different industry, and that's absolutely fine. Employers at the graduate level are really interested to hear whether you have the skills, and it's absolutely fine that they have been acquired in a different industry. So let's have a quick look at the transferable skills and the fact that you've learned them in your degree. So I would say assignments or projects, final year thesis, all these play an important role in your graduate applications. So you need to emphasize the fact that whilst completing those assignments and projects, you really learned a great deal of written and verbal communication skills. Maybe there was a time when you had to present something in front of your peers and lecture. So again, that can be emphasized. The fact that you've been consistently learning and developing yourself. Employers do like to hear professional continuous development, and just the idea of learning would really feature in so many graduate programs. So again, emphasizing that you see yourself as a continuous learner can be expressed by the means of you completing your assignments in the college. And teamwork is really essential. I'm sure that throughout your time in your degree, you were able to work with so many teams, and the fact that you had a chance to lead them can be also expressed in your application. So identifying your transferable skills, this is really important because you also need to not only to understand what they are, but also being able to identify them within yourself. So I do hope that the infographic and the education infographic really helped you to understand what kind of skills have you developed, but you would be able to find that information in the learning outcomes of your modules per se. At the same time, if you want to go outside of your education and you've been volunteering and you have part-time job, just really try to think how those skills helped you to succeed in the role. And out of all the skills that you have listed, how they really helped you to succeed, and which of those are transferable skills. And I just have a few examples over there to say that, for example, out of your previous experience, if you, for example, choose to go into business development or business analysis, then you can use the fact that you've learned your data interpretation skills and research skills. I just really quickly want to talk about the fact in terms of the practical application. So you definitely need to assess your current set of skills and again, set aside those transferable skills. Then you really need to know the requirements of the market or of a certain profession that you're interested in, and identify if there is any gap between the job that you want to enter and the skills that you have. And if there is that gap over there, that means it needs some attention and requirement. And then you need to focus on different strategies on how to develop those skills. So for example, if one of these soft skills that you feel like you need to develop is public speaking, perhaps you may want to watch some videos on YouTube to make yourself a bit more confident. And practical application is essentially to start raising your hand and volunteering and being able to speak up in front of other people. So then again, whenever you're making that application, you have that practical experience to back up your statements. And just quickly want to go through how you can utilize your transferable skills in a job application. So I just randomly took DAA graduate program. Again, I'm not advertising it or promoting this opportunity. I just taken it to demonstrate as an example. So on the right-hand side, we see the kind of skills and requirements DAA has. And on the left-hand side, I suggested to use the following approach to demonstrate teamwork skills, for example. So I suggest to reflect on your experience and think about the teamwork. So group assignments, or maybe you've been doing some projects outside of academia. So let's not forget, a really big deal is when you become a student leader or a class rep. This also involves a sense of teamwork. Then I suggest to use the STAR approach to explain that experience, because that really provides that in-depth analysis and provides really with the structure in your answer. And then as you have finished with your example, I do highly suggest to check it for spellings. But again, we just literally go through all the soft skills described in the job description, and then in our application form, we take individual examples and then we use the STAR approach to explain them. So I do see there are some questions popping out over here. So I would love to answer some of them. And if you do have more questions, please feel free to pop them into chat box over there. So how you can stand out as a graduate applying for a role. in the time of pandemic. So I do appreciate the idea that the competition is so much higher these days, because perhaps there might be some opportunities that are not advertised as widely, or there isn't as many opportunities out there. So I would essentially advise you to start tailoring your application. So I do know some clients of mine that even in this time would send one general CV to 20 different employers. And there is a really good saying, one size doesn't fit all. So even with this example of how you can use transferable skills, and on the screen over here that you can see, you see how I tailor my application and I specifically talk about teamwork. And you need to do the same with your CV. You need to ensure that you list all the relevant skills out there in the CV that actually match the requirements of the job. You don't really want to send a CV that is 4 pages long and really outlines your experience. Employers may not necessarily have time to go through all of them in detail. So you need to make their job easier to screen your CV. So ensure that next time you apply for a job, you tailor your application. So how important are presentation skills, and should I practice this outside of college assignments? So I would say that many roles may not require you to speak up in front of hundreds of people, but at the same time, presentation skills are important, because you never know, from time to time, you may need to give an update even to your team or a team from another department. And you want to ensure that you do it confidently and you do it well. So as a transferable skill, I do think it's an essential skill that is required in any job. So if you do have an opportunity to work on your public speaking skills, it's definitely recommended to do so. And as I was saying, even if you are a current student and all the lectures are delivered online, you can still practice up your public speaking by, for example, raising your hand, putting your camera on, and starting to talking to your peers and classmates. So let's not disregard the idea that IT skills and online meetings are a big part of work right now. So the more you get to practice all these things, the more confident you will be. And again, you can emphasize that in your application forms. And let me just take one last question from you guys. So question is, should you mention transferable skills in your CV or only at interview stage? Definitely, I would mention them in both in your CV and in your interviews. And in fact, I would try to use them even in the application form as well, because again, if you have very little experience or no experience at all, and you're really looking to stand out in front of people, transferable skills are something that can be your unique selling point. So transferable skills, I wouldn't go with the idea of just mentioning all of them. Again, let's not forget about the idea that you need to tweak and tailor your application. And I'm sure that the kind of job you will go for will actually mention those soft skills already. So in a way, inevitably, you would still need to mention those transferable skills because they've already been asked for. So definitely you need to emphasize all of them in both CV and interview. So that's a definite yes. So that's all from the question side at this point. Thank you very much. It was absolutely delightful to speak to all of you across Ireland, and I do hope you enjoyed the rest of the webinars today, and I wish you best of luck with all your graduate applications. Thank you very much.